Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I make for Paul as part of the custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, this is a video of a track from an act named Vulfpeck titled Wait for the Moment live at Madison Square Garden. As I understand it, this, considering the channel we're on, this might be a bootleg of it, but basically this is gonna, I suppose, be their live take. So we're gonna listen through it from start to finish and we're gonna hear what we think. Let's go.
All right, Jack, take me back to 2013.
Phenomenal falsetto.
I said wait for the moment, gone home, went to bed, while the other kids, they were still outside. No,
Great chemistry between the band members.
When I sleep, so I snuggle up in my sheet, wait for a brighter day. I play football, so y'all caught it. With only my best friends, people I like, but I don't love, I'm not allowed. I wonder if Sharon will see me, but I'll play cool, cause cool is what you gotta do.
I mean, it's just so stunning with the charisma of the vocalist there, capturing the mood of it, how tight things are with the drums, the keys, the bass, etc. It's just a really warm introduction to it. It seems like everyone's having a great time.
To make a point when you're living too low, sometimes you just gotta turn it down.
Great dynamic range.
Gotta get my friends excited about not being invited. I'll say, what I'll say, y'all help me out.
Excellent. Great interaction with the crowd.
Listen, I'll smile. It was so nice to get a call. Say her name, y'all. I'm good at stuff. Show your falsetto. You're into stuff. Let's make one. Oh, I'm a product goddess, and your produce girl.
Are they thumping?
I said money.
Oh no, it's the guitar.
Money will be spent. Oh, I'm a to the groove that turns you. Oh, I'm gonna let my brother Joe Don speak to you.
Hey.
You better play that bass, boy.
What a sick solo, dude. Oh yeah, wonderful. What I liked about that bass solo, just so that this is a mildly transformative review, or at least a listening section, is that he had the space within the arrangement there to just say his speak his truth. He then used that to bring up the intensity of his bass playing, to include a lot more notes, and they weren't just random notes. They worked well within the scale shapes and keys of the riffs involved in it. It instantiated upon the previous sections. In addition to that, there was some nice thumping and muting. Well, not necessarily muting. There was definitely muting, some muted bits. But the bump kind of like to represent a percussive element, like a bass or a snare drum or something like that. And that's why bass and drums go well together. And then finally, it's about going between those different chord shapes there, the switches, the transitions. I was working with some chromaticism between those octaves. It was just a really compelling, really fun bass solo that didn't take itself too seriously, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate it. What else are they gonna do though? What a wonderful organ there. Oh? Woodwinds? Oh my gosh. Holy shit. What an incredible build. I mean, how do we even interpret this? Just before we go any further, I know I'm kind of blue-balling you a little bit, but wasn't it just one of the most fun instrumental interludes you've ever seen in your entire life? You think it starts off with a solo section, and then everyone else just comes in, and over time, you just go from this one instrument to everyone else, all the friends coming together, wonderful interactions between the various vocalists, the key parts, the clarinet, the bass guitar, clarinet. There was no focal point, is what I think I appreciate there. It's like they're treating each other as, as equals. And you don't always get that in bands, especially with this amount of people. It's almost sort of a little bit potentially chaotic to have this many people within an act, but they managed to balance it out compositionally and performatively and make it work. And I'm kind of stoked by that. We'll go back a little bit so we can get the falsetto part, but yeah. I assume this is potentially their outro song. That gave me chills.
Vulfpeck.
I mean, I think what you've got to understand is that that's one of the most phenomenally charismatic live shows I've seen in quite a while. They just absolutely nailed it. It would have been an absolute joy to have been at that concert. No wonder everyone's so friggin' hype, eh? I mean, like, we're lucky to have bands like this. So we got lyrics here. We're going to look through these. Mom said, wait for the moment. Go home, went to bed. Oh, no. Pray for a brighter day. People I like, but I don't love and not allowed. So this is like the perspective as a kid, like about what they think their world's going to be like. But I'll play it cool, because cool is what you have to do. It's hard to make a point when you're living so loud. Turn it down, trying to say my friend excited about not being invited. I said, that's an opportunity. If I dialed, I smiled. Listen, once I dialed, I smile. Money, money, money will be spent. I'm attuned to the grooves to turn you off. Okay, cool. I think, I'm not sure if I get it. Oh, okay, we'll try our best. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Vulfpeck titled Wait for the Moment. Now, what do I think this track is about? I think it's about someone who's looking back at their childhood initially and they're like, wow, man, like, I know I have to be kind of conservative and I have to go to bed early and I can't necessarily go out with these people and I can't do what I want to do right now, but eventually I'm going to have that opportunity where I can go out there and I can do my thing and it's going to be awesome. And I think what happens eventually when we talk about that girl, that was Sharon is eventually that person that they do it with. Maybe they're discussing the fact that that person helped them to bring forth their opportunity to be able to do what they want in the world. They waited for that moment and eventually it came. It's talking about the anticipation, the regret, and kind of the rules you set for yourself when you're waiting for something to kind of cope with that frustration of not getting what you want. But it's a long-term moving forward and getting to that point where you have that opportunity and you make the most of it, you grab it. I think that's incredible. I think it's wonderful, man. I think this is an incredible story that isn't necessarily obvious on the first read or the first listen, but I'm glad that, thank you again to Paul for providing lyrics, I'm glad that the opportunity to listen to it regardless. I think that the vocal performance was absolutely stunning. I was blown away by the way that we sang. Incredible vocal technique from the singer. It's just, we went from the chest voice to falsetto. We had some scat stuff as well, dooba-doo-doo-doo, that kind of stuff, which was really dope as well. We had a variety of different ways of approaching it. We also had like crowd interactions, you know, throwing the football and stuff like that. We also had like talking to the. We had the singer vocalist not only as performing well with the storytelling and all that, but like also the interaction with the members of the band and the chemistry involved was incredible. It was a really satisfying thing to listen and watch. Everyone looked like they're having a great time, and part of that comes from having a really competent lead man, or just lead person in general, you know, and you don't always get that with bands. And you've got someone that doesn't take themselves too seriously. They're genuinely interesting and fun, and they're in the mood of the song and the vibe of it, and that makes for a really wonderful experience. An unbelievable amount of variety of different vocal melodies there and harmonies there. We had several different sections with our other singers coming in with their falsettos going higher than that guy, and it was just incredible and mind-blowing. And I don't know how they managed to find that much space for the various components in the arrangement. I think that it was great use of time. I liked that the singer, with how almost damn near virtuosic they were with their craft, allowed space for like the bass solos and stuff like that, and the other instruments to have that interlude where they all came in one at a time, starting with the clarinet there, and then just coming with the keys, etc. It started with the organ, and then I think the clarinet came in as well, which I think was good. But yeah, we had several different sections within the track where we didn't have singing, and that was good because it almost made you miss when the vocals came in by part just due to how awesome they sounded. But then everything sounded awesome, so that nothing, you know, it's all good. I think that it's a tremendous piece of music. At 6 minutes and a half, because like the last 10 or something seconds was people applauding them. I think that it's really well written. There was a slow intro, slow burn getting into that verse part. We had with the various musicians coming in at the beginning, kind of setting things up and hyping it up a little bit. We had verses and we had choruses, and then we had like bass solos, and then we had other instrumental parts, outro choruses, and we just had a lot of fun. It was a song it took its time. It didn't feel the need to rush to that moment, which I think is kind of wonderful if you consider what the track is about. The track naturally crescendos and climaxes and has these different waves of oscillations of various intensities there. And I think part of that is not only because of the way it's composed and layered, but also because of how the instruments were performed. I think when a track is this long, as well outside of the 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, you have to be really careful about making it too long. In the sense that if you don't provide enough change and diversity within a composition, you are running the risk of just losing the audience, in the sense that, like, if they'd only had a few instruments and they'd had like the same vocalist and they'd just kind of like said their thing, a repeated verse and hook lines, and if the chord progressions hadn't necessarily adjusted that much. But what I will actually note before we continue is I'm pretty sure that is a very similar chord progression and bass line the entire time. It was almost through composed in the sense that we had that one idea that was just kind of copied on and looped throughout. And I've got to show some love for that. That is very difficult to do, to have that one sort of main motif. Part of it is because of the way different instruments were played. I don't want to sort of like summarize various sections with different parts because it was a very complicated arrangement. I think instead I'm going to talk about some of my favorite instruments from this piece, what they did well and what I enjoyed. I think that if we start with the piano, because that's on the screen, I think that there was a wonderful dexterity and fluidity with the piano and the key part and the organ parts. They didn't necessarily come in at the same time, well, they didn't. But I think if we looked about like the Yamaha, the piano there, I think it's a grand. What I appreciate about the effort there is that they not only articulated the chord progressions really well, it was a clear, merry, cheery performance there, which had nice staccatos there and a great sort of like emphasis on certain notes and chords there that kind of made it very kind of chirpy and fun to listen to. It was it had a sense of youthful vibrancy to it, which I cannot get enough of. And I like the fact that, again, the piano player knew to kind of step away a little bit to let the organ player come in with their part, which was a different tonal texture, but could have been seen similarly to the way that the key sounded in regards to its functionality as a similar instrument. I like the fact that when you went to step away and come in, when we knew to sort of like reduce the complexity of the key parts for other instruments when they had their sections, in the same way as a lot of instruments made more for them. That's just part of being a really competent performer, is knowing when to sort of come up, when to bring it down. Another excellent example of this is the bass player. When they had the bass solo, the bass guitarist had been pretty sort of like in the mix, in the flow of things up until that point. And then suddenly, boom, center stage. And you know what? He plays incredibly well, and he knows to kind of really make the most of that moment, but he doesn't shred and do hollers of that kind of stuff like that. He phrases it rhythmically in a way that's respectful and parallels the original motif, but also puts his own spin on it, working with some semitonal sort of chromatic stuff with the octave shifts there, but a thumping, but a more sort of rhythm bass stuff to make it look so you can then nod your head and go, oh wow, we've got a bit of funk to it. It gets funky. And then what he does is he has this moment, steps back, allows other instruments to come forward. The guitar lines there were two guitarists. The guitar lines were relatively minimalistic in comparison to the complexity of some of the other parts of the arrangement. And I kind of appreciate that because, you know, you can do a lot with a guitar, but I think that in essence you had so many other layers and elements that it almost would have been superfluous to have needed to, I suppose, overextend there, do any sort of shreddy kind of bluesy stuff. It was really about playing they're doing the strumming patterns for more rhythmical response, maybe with some mutes that we had like in the interlude section, but also just playing those bar chords and opens, arpeggiating, doing single string stuff when needed, but mostly kind of performing the faux, kind of allowing that, being a part of the general tapestry. The clarinet, I think that was a clarinet, I could be wrong. That clarinet playing was exceptional, man. I am stunned with how articulate and how it was a wonderful performance. It was so appropriate and so charming. But that guy could clearly shred on the instrument. Like, that is as close to clarinet shredding as I've ever seen. And then for like the organ player to kind of pick up certain notes and almost make it sort of like neoclassical was wonderful. It was wonderful. And then for the other instruments to come in one by one and bring their best assets in without overloading things, it was almost, you were like a frog in a pot that was boiling. It just got really hot all of a sudden and everything was there. And you had the cloud clapping along as they slowly built. It was like, holy crap, this is actually a band. This is actually a performance. These are actually musicians. They are playing with not only the dynamic range there, they've got wonderful chemistry, but they're also doing a show. And it wasn't just that they could play all their instruments well, it was also, hear me out, it was also the fact that they could do it in a way which was interesting to watch. Finally, the drums. There were several drummers there with different percussive instruments there, or different setups. The drums were one of the most competent, they were one of the most consistent elements of this mix, and I've got so much love for that, because you just needed that groove put forward there to sync with the bass, to highlight the better areas of some of the more colorful elements there, and then you want to step away and come back. There was space there compositionally. It was like they really understood that they had a purpose, they didn't overplay, they allowed room for each other as the varied percussionists to get involved, and it was dreamlike. I cannot fault this at all. I think it's a damn near flawless performance and composition, and they ought to be very proud of themselves, and I understand why so many people like this track. The motif itself, if we kind of move forward, is one where I have a lot of love and affection for it. It was upbeat and positive and celebrated, I think, the waiting for that moment as if this is the moment where they accepted it. I think with that interlude section where everything came together and everyone was just playing their heart out and interacting with each other and it looked like a party was going on stage, that was so wonderfully symbolic and appropriate. And to be honest, it was very special. It's not something you see often. It's just so well calibrated to all the other things that we've discussed so far that I really think that they couldn't have done better. The motif was so upbeat, positive, and it made you have hope for the future. I'm assuming live at Madison Square Garden is like a New Year's thing. Fuck yeah, this is exactly what you need on New Year's. It's exactly what you need. I'm getting emotional. But there's just so much negativity and stuff, and this is the kind of music you need. You need to have this stuff to help you to celebrate life and hope for the future. And they had that in spades here. It's so good, man. It's so good. So good. But finally, studio recording, mixing, mastering. This is a live event. Damn near flawless. It was flawless, commercial grade. The mixing, the leveling, the capturing the various instruments, the elements there, dynamic range was there, nice and wide in the headphones, well leveled in the frequency spectrum with no resonant frequencies, and it was nice and loud without pumping, so limiting compression was handled. No complaints. This is my review of this track from an act named Vulfpeck, titled Wait for the Moment, live at Madison Square Garden, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show us some love via their various social medias and their YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they hell more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next SC Patrons video. Spiderhands up.